Welcome back to another episode of Built from the Inside Out. And today I'm here with keynote speaker and communication coach, Kelly Sargent. Thank you for being here today
Hi,
and making time for me.
of course.
All right, so tell us a little bit about yourself, your background, and what it is that you do.
Okay, well, believe it or not, I am a communications coach, but there was a time when I was very afraid to communicate. I would show up at work and participate in management team meetings, and they would go around the room and want everyone's input. And I had all of these thoughts in my head, but nothing would come out of my mouth. However, there was a lot pounding in my chest. It felt like it was just going to burst right through. You know that feeling when you have so much to say, but you're afraid to say it because you're so nervous and self-conscious and insecure. So I was always afraid to speak up. And I started sharing my ideas after the meeting with a coworker who climbed up the corporate ladder, and I just watched her grow. And eventually I learned that she was stealing my ideas.
Oh,
So
wow.
I made it a New Year's resolution to join an organization called Toastmasters International. And that organization, it literally changed my life. I overcame my fear of public speaking. I found a passion for public speaking and helping people through oratory. And so ever since then, I've just been keynoting and helping other people overcome their fears through Toastmasters and being their coach and learning how to communicate themselves. And that's what I do now. I absolutely love to do it. And I'm happy to be here to help out you and your audience.
Thank you. Yeah, and I'm actually one of those people that you helped. You were my interview coach for pageantry. And I remember when I went to you, I won that year. So thank you. You
Yay!
really helped me. So how would you say you overcame your fear of public speaking? Like what through the whole process, what do you feel helped you the most?
You know, the great thing about Toastmasters is that people practice. They're all there for the same reason to overcome that fear. So, the most important thing is to get out there and do it, to actively participate, because a lot of times people will join an organization, pay their dues, show up to the meetings, but still be afraid to take an active part. So, in spite of my fear, I just did it anyway. And I've learned that as a public speaker, you don't have to conform or to adjust who you are, your knowledge. Well, let's put it this way. For me, it was more comfortable for me to speak about what I had experience in or what I was comfortable with, instead of being asked to speak at an event and for them to tell you what you want to speak about. It was a lot of pressure for me because I felt like I had to learn something new or do some research. And that's good at times. However, when you're first breaking into public speaking and you have that fear, it helps to be comfortable with your topic. Because if you're comfortable with your topic because you're knowledgeable or because it's something you're really passionate about, it's coming from your heart, it's easier to speak about. And you're less afraid because you're familiar and you feel like you're giving value, something that's going to help other people. So if you're ever afraid to speak, yet um, want to, stick to something that you know, your expertise and how you can help other people.
I agree. Yeah. Usually I don't feel very comfortable speaking about things I don't know about because I'm very self conscious. I'm like, if I say something wrong and these people know more about this subject, they're going to call me out on it or they're just, I'm just going to lose credibility. So that also
That's
messes
right.
with me.
You know, everyone feels like, oh my gosh, I don't want to look stupid. You
Mhm.
know, they're so concerned about that. So if you ever get in a situation, just do your research ahead of time, so you're well equipped and prepared for the event.
Absolutely. So these TOCAS meetings, anyone can go to them, right? They're all over the place, all over the
Yes.
nation, right? Or is
Yes, they're international. I forgot how many countries, but you can just go online to toastmasters.org and click location, and you'll get all of the meetings or clubs within your area. And they have them all throughout the day, morning sessions, afternoon, and evening. So
Mhm.
I would highly recommend it for those wanting to improve their speaking and leadership skills.
Absolutely. I remember my first safety job, my boss made me go and take some classes. And I feel like they helped because I had to give meetings and I was, I don't know if you remember, but when we met, I was super shy. I hated speaking in front of people. I was even more like that back then before I took those classes. So when I came to you, I was a little bit, had gotten a little bit of help, but I was still struggling.
Well, I'm so happy to see your growth since then.
Thank you. So how did you start helping other people? What made you want to help others?
Well, once I started practicing in front of the club, in front of Toastmasters, I found a passion for it. I grew to really like it. I was like, oh my gosh, I kind of like this. And so I wanted some more experience. So what I did was I started volunteering at different organizations around the city. I started speaking to the homeless, to victims of domestic violence, sexual assault, different organizations. And I just shared my story, instead of trying to, I just went with what I knew, and I shared my story of obstacles that I've overcome, different experiences, and how I did it. And I just wanted to help other people. And so it was great practice to be able to help other people while at the same time overcoming my fear, while at the same time getting me more experience public speaking. So just getting out there and volunteering, finding opportunities to practice where you're actually serving other people. It makes you feel like you have a sense of purpose, and
Yeah.
it also builds your self-confidence.
Yeah, it's interesting that you say that because I recently did a podcast with a pastor. We talked about finding your purpose. And basically, it's like find something that you went through or something you overcame, and then talk to those people who are going through that. And to me, I was like, wow, I was like, I had never thought of it that way.
Yeah, it's the best thing, I think, because you get to pay it forward. You get to, if you have a passion for it, I think everybody deep down inside wants to help other people. So if
Yeah.
you have a passion for it, you become relatable by sharing that story. I think it's important to not be afraid to be vulnerable and transparent, because then you make that connection, and to have a strategy, to share that strategy that you use to overcome that situation. So that would give them a sense of hope. They can look at you and be like, wow, she or he went through the same thing. He gets me.
Mhm.
And now I could try what they did to see if I can overcome the same thing.
Yeah, absolutely. And I feel like it gives you a little bit more of credibility, like saying, I went through it already.
Exactly. There's nothing worse than um, sitting through a motivational speech and the person that's speaking to you has never gone through it, you know.
Yeah.
And when you've actually gone through it yourself and you're detailing experiences, being able to actually describe it with adjectives and opening up your heart and just talking about, the struggle, in admitting the struggle and, the challenges that you overcame. Yes, you become relatable and much more credible. They'll believe you. They'll actually believe that it's possible to overcome their situation.
Absolutely. So, what would you say makes a good public speaker?
Well, obviously, one of the first things is to be willing to, I think, be true to yourself and to find that confidence. One of the biggest hurdles for me was realizing that I didn't have to be perfect. I remember first starting, I felt like I needed to I would write a speech and I felt like I needed to memorize every single word. And it
I used
was
to be like
just too much pressure.
that. Yeah.
So I think being comfortable in your own skin and your beliefs, and not being afraid to stand up for what you believe in and just sharing your truth. A lot of people pretend to be perfect, and being perfect doesn't help anyone, but admitting your imperfections empowers everyone. So to be a great public speaker, if you're willing to share yourself and stay true to who you are, meaning when you get on stage, you're not trying to be something that you're not, but you just feel comfortable, just, talking, having a conversation. It changes your perception of it being an official speech to I'm up here and I'm trying to help other people. Um, I think it's important to give back, to find value, to what's in it for me. That's what the audience is, that's what they want to hear. And so finding nuggets of information that you can share that would be helpful, that they could take away, because they're taking their time to come listen to you. So it's great when you have an intangible gift to leave them with.
I agree. I like that. So, let's talk about well, you just touched on one of what I consider to be one of the benefits of public speaking, that you're able to help people. What would you say it's another benefit of overcoming that fear and being able to just communicate, whether it's in a meeting, giving a speech, or doing a podcast?
I know, huh? I've found that it really helps you excel in so many areas. professionally as well as personally. Once you have that that conviction of who you are and realizing your significance and just building up that confidence, and you're able to speak to people. People love confidence. They're just attracted to it. So professionally, it can really excel, help you just climb up the corporate ladder, not being afraid to have conversations, not just at work and being able to talk in front of people who are your seniors or who are just your colleagues, but just even outside of work, having those uncomfortable conversations when you truly have that confidence, it helps you contribute in so many ways to society and to the organizations where you work. Um, Overcoming that fear can help you in so many ways. But for me, it's give opening so many doors to helping other people, coaching them through different organizations, executives in corporate America, pageant girls competing in pageantry. I help people with their job interviews and landing the positions that they want. So it just helps you help other people and professionally as well as personally.
Yeah, and you actually not only did you help me with my pageantry, but you also helped me with the job interview, and I ended up getting the job. So thank you
I
again.
remember that. I'm so grateful I could help.
Yes, thank you. So another question: how would you control like your telltale signs? Like, there's some people who get nervous and they start fidgeting, they start sweating, or they start stuttering. How would you say? What would you say is the best way to control telltale signs?
Prayer. People have so many different techniques. Some people, they may tell a joke, at first to break the ice. I actually like that, if you're really good at it. I have no timing whatsoever, but sometimes it's really tough for people to face that fear initially, that sweating and everything. Um, I like to tell people to find sometimes to hold a mic. Sometimes it helps to hold a mic when you're getting on stage. And to actually, let's put it this way, when you're nervous up there, the audience wants to see you win. They're there for a reason. And so, two things I like to tell clients to think about. Number one, if you really are anxious, it's okay to, if you want to tell a joke, if that helps you out, because what happens is most of the time the audience, they don't want to be there. Maybe they're there because they have to be. Let's just say it's a work situation. So once you, let's say, tell a joke or just make them feel comfortable, just being yourself in some silly way, not being afraid to do that, it kind of breaks the ice. And the people that are in the audience are like, oh, okay, she's kind of funny. Maybe this won't be so bad after all. And they start laughing. And then you feel this big, okay, I've won them over. Now this feels a little bit better. Now I can, go on. So you get to get that sigh of relief and, that buy-in to bring them on board. But the other thing is I try to get my clients to think about not thinking about themselves. In other words, I used to say this in my head all the time right before I spoke to help me with that fear. I would say, it ain't about you, boo. It has nothing to do with you. So get over yourself. You are there to deliver a very important message to help other people. And so when I put in my head that I shouldn't care about what I look like or what I sound like, I should stop being so self centered and just get up there and share this information to help other people with whatever the knowledge that I was imparting on them, it literally made it feel so much better. Like I wasn't going to deliver a speech, like I was just standing on a platform so everyone could see me. And the other thing that I would do is I would make it less formal. I wouldn't stand behind a lectern or a podium. I would literally come from behind it and just walk on the stage like I was just walking and talking to the audience. And then for you, it feels like much more of a conversation. And for the audience, it feels like you're talking to them, like you're just having a conversation. And they forget that they were even in a training session or at this big official speech. And time flies by and they soak it all in, the information that you have to share with them. And it just helps bring things down to a more realistic level where you can just connect differently.
I like that. I'm gonna think about that next time I have to.
It ain't about you, boo. You're just there to help other people.
Yes, I like it. Um, okay, so I guess that goes with what are some tips if you get nervous, right? Okay,
Yeah,
so
I
I've
mean,
heard of the imagine everybody in their underwear. Does
oh,
it actually work? Because it never worked for
I've
me.
actually never done that. But here's what I have done trying to do that.
Mm.
I would stare out. I used to stare out at the audience, at no one, and just at the back wall or something similar to that. But I tell you, when you make those eye connections, when you make eye contact with people in the audience and you're just having a conversation with them, it goes a long way. It's just when you forget about the speech and you just tell them something that they need to hear, and you're looking at them and they're nodding their heads because they relate, that gives you the confidence. And then you find somebody else in the audience at all different parts of the room, and you look them in the eyes and you just um, give them those nuggets. And when they're nodding their heads, or if they give you other signals like, like they don't quite understand, then you'll start to elaborate and you're looking at them. They go, you see them with that aha moment, or you see them writing, they're writing. And so then you start to feel like you're giving them something of value or they understand. And I just think that that helps so much more than trying to picture them naked.
Yeah, that one's never worked for me. I'm like, oh, okay, no, I don't want to do that. What
Yeah, it's just,
I feel like,
to me, it all begins with changing your perception. When you go up there and you're starting to think about a speech, it adds too much pressure. And
yeah,
so another mantra, in addition to it, it ain't about you. It's like, I'm just up here having a conversation with these people. I want them to understand how to get this process. I want them to understand why it's important to do this. I want them to understand the risk that are involved with this type of behavior. I want them to understand the consequences for this, or how to overcome this challenge. I want them to really get it. And so when you describe the reason and the background, you get, the why, and then you give them the step by step, it's something that, is beneficial. And so just change your perspective. And I think it'll be a lot easier.
yeah. I think someone told me like also don't. So for I don't think this was you, but I heard it from somebody. Look at the top of their heads. They're like, don't look them in the eyes. So I started off with that, and then once I got comfortable with the because it was the same company. So once I got comfortable with the employees, I was able to start looking them in the eye, and then feeling more comfortable. But at first, I just looked at the top of their head. I was like, I'm not making eye contact until I start feeling more comfortable, and then I started looking at them, and
Tell me, did it work?
it worked for me.
Oh, well, there you go.
Yeah,
Good. So that's something that your listeners can try, is to look at the top of their heads and
yeah.
then make their way down to their eyes.
All right. So, you spoke a little bit about showing confidence. Let's talk about the importance of that because I feel like it has so many benefits.
Yeah. Well, think about it like this. If you don't have confidence in yourself, how is anyone else going to have confidence in you? A perfect example is, I remember being a judge for a local pageant, and I could tell right away when the contestant would walk in front of the panel of judges. You can just tell by the way they carried themselves, how they looked down at the ground, how they wouldn't give eye contact, how they would fidget with their hands, just their whole posture. You can tell that they weren't confident. And so I would ask them, I would say, tell us, what is your confidence level on a scale of 1 to 10? And if they would say 10, I would know that they weren't being honest, because you can just tell. And
Yeah.
so the most important thing to remember is, when you're not confident, it is obvious, and people can tell. And so the best thing to do is, take the time to figure out what you need to do, where you need to work those areas where you can increase your confidence, because it's going to be very difficult for you to get someone's buy-in to trust you when it appears as if you don't actually trust yourself.
Right.
And the benefits are unlimited, because you can really go for the things that you really want to accomplish in life, and believe that you can do it. Some people believe fake it until you make it. And hey, look, if that works, that's great. I'm a believer of writing down, being really honest with yourself, and figuring out those areas where you need to grow, and not fake it, but actually do the work in order to get there. So if you need to learn a new skill, take a class, read a book, whatever you need to do that, and then start speaking about it, actually helping other people people in those areas, because that way when you help other people with the knowledge that you've just learned, and they affirm for you that you've helped them, you feel like you've made a positive impact, and then that helps your confidence increase more. So do the work. Don't be afraid to do the work. Let's not take the easy way out by pretending, because you know what, that can only go so far. And guess what, in order to build your self confidence, you need to be authentic, and the only way for you to do that is to do what you need to do in order to gain the skills you need so you can increase your confidence.
Yeah. So I'm trying to picture how the fake it till you make it would work on a pageant stage. So that would be someone who doesn't really believe that they're worth it, and they just go up there and like try to go through the motions, or like how would you describe faking it until you're making it when you're like, for example, if you're doing pageantry, if you're on stage.
Pageantry, I've seen this happen with on-stage questions, very controversial political questions. So sometimes, or maybe even in the interview, when someone is asked a question and they give this very shallow response, or very short without any elaboration, or no without a personal story where you can be relatable and credible, adding that substance, that thing that really matters. That's where you can tell, because it's a bunch of fluff, a bunch of words that actually don't mean or say anything. So the best thing that you can do in those situations is have a story, you know, because faking it is just saying, oh, I believe I have leadership skills, and that's one of the skills that's needed in this position to be a title holder. Whereas you're able to describe a situation where you displayed leadership skills without ever having to say it, but leave the judges saying, wow, she was able to make that impression on those the young women, and literally change their perspective, and impart something of value. She really shows some leadership skills. Leave that up to us, without just saying the words, without any substance or credibility or personal story to back it up.
All right. So like if you go on an interview and you tell them, "Oh, I have great communication skills," and then you're struggling throughout the interview.
Yeah, there you go. I
Yeah.
thought you said you had great communication skills, but you're giving me these one word replies, with no elaboration. Communicate with me.
Yeah. All right. Well, those are all the questions I have. Is there anything else you would like to add and a message to the people watching us? I know there's a lot of people who are watching us who struggle with public speaking. I feel like that's a very common thing.
Yeah. Let's see if I haven't already said it. Be willing and courageous to be vulnerable when you share your story, because that's the best way to connect with people. And by doing that, you can really make a difference. And speak about things that you're passionate about, or that you have experience with. Practice. Don't just, get out there, put yourself in uncomfortable situations, and seek to serve, to help other people. Because when you do that, it gives you a sense of purpose, a fulfillment, significance. And then what happens is, you'll get feedback, and that feedback will help increase your confidence. You'll feel like 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 you're good enough, like you have something to offer. So I say, get out there, join Toastmasters. It will help. And actually participate. Don't just pay your dues and be a bystander. But other than that, be yourself, be comfortable in your own skin and who you are and your beliefs. As long as you're a good person, there's nothing that you have to pretend about. You can just, I think that's the most powerful thing, is really beginning to be comfortable in your own skin. And that really goes a long way.
So I actually did have one more question now that you
Yes.
said that. So I've always heard that when you like, especially when you're giving a meeting, it's or giving a training, it's better if you add personal stories, or if you add stories to it instead of just like, here's the information. And me personally, I'm actually pretty bad about it, because I'm like, okay, this is the information, and I'm very to the point. I don't elaborate. I don't add much stories. What would your advice be to someone like me who has that.
Yeah, great. That's a great question. For training sessions, it is so important to customize those training sessions. So if you're speaking to a certain group, a certain department, it's important to know what their role is. So that way you can speak to their everyday, a real life scenario for them, something that they do. And then you can tell that story and you can give an example of before and after. Now, here's the same situation that you guys go through every single day. And now here it is with this process. See how much easier this is, and just help them see that picture. But the main thing, the overall message I'm trying to convey here is target your audience. So if you're speaking to a different department, they have different responsibilities. So whatever procedure or whatever you're teaching, make it relatable to them. Someone in sourcing, they don't want to hear about a story about someone in sales because it doesn't make sense. So make sure your story or your situation is relatable. When I'm training, I speak with boots on the ground, the people who are actually doing the work, and I ask them specifically, what are the challenges that you face in your day-to-day role? And so that way I can help them overcome those challenges and speak directly to them. So the most important thing in training is when you share those stories, have it be share a story of a true challenge that they face in their everyday responsibilities.
I like that. All right. So if people want to contact you, if they're like, you know what, I need help, I've been struggling, how can they do that?
Well, the easiest way to remember is kellysargeant.com. That's the easiest way. But my business is called Own Your Moment Consulting, OYM Consulting. But much easier just to put kellysargeant.com and you'll be directed to that website.
Okay. Yeah. And I'll put that on the screen as well so people can have it on there.
Great.
And you
Thank
offer
you.
pageant lessons, you offer interview lessons.
Yes, I am a coach. Thank you so much. But I have to say that I coach people in pageantry. I coach people going on interviews, and believe it or not, even though I coach for different types of things, it all comes down to confidence. To be
Mm.
honest with you, it all comes down to confidence. And sessions with me sometimes feel like therapy sessions, but you overcome a lot of challenges that make you feel comfortable in your own skin and learning how to convey your message in a clear and concise manner, organized and with that substance that you need to make that connection with the people that you're meeting with. So yes, I do that. And my services are available on my website.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for doing this. I'm sure a lot of people are going to benefit from this podcast.
I hope so. Thank you, Brianna.